Welcome to Echoes Beyond, where history meets mystery, legends challenge reality, and the greatest questions of our past are waiting to be uncovered. I'm Echo, and together we'll journey beyond the known. What if the oldest stories in the world were never meant to entertain? What if they were warnings? Across Europe, and in many places beyond, people spoke in hushed voices about beings who lived just beyond human sight. They were not gods, and they were not ghosts. They were known by many names: the fair folk, the good neighbors, the hidden people, the people of the hills. Today, we simply call them the Fae. For centuries, countless people claim these beings could appear as breathtakingly beautiful strangers, shimmering lights dancing through forests, or shadows that vanished the instant they were seen. Some believed they blessed those they favored. Others believed they stole children from their cradles. Many believed they could alter time itself. And nearly every culture that spoke of them agreed on one chilling truth. You did not seek the Fae. If they wanted you, they would find you. Modern society often imagines fairies as tiny creatures with sparkling wings fluttering through flower gardens. But that image is surprisingly recent. If you had asked someone living 1,000 years ago about the Fae, they would not have smiled. They would have lowered their voice. In ancient Ireland and Scotland, people rarely even spoke their true name aloud. Instead, they used respectful titles: the good people, the fair folk. Not because they believed the beings were kind, but because names held power. To speak of them carelessly was thought to invite their attention, and attention from the Fae was rarely considered a blessing. These were not harmless woodland spirits. They were intelligent, powerful, unpredictable. Some believe they occupied another realm entirely. Others claim they existed within our own world, hidden behind an invisible veil that separated two realities occupying the same space. A world only glimpsed at twilight, or beneath the ancient trees, or within circles of mushrooms growing where no one dared step. Imagine standing alone in an ancient forest. The wind suddenly stops. Birdsong disappears. Every instinct tells you that something is watching. Then, you hear music. Not distant enough to ignore, not close enough to locate. Beautiful, impossible. It seems to drift from every direction at once. According to countless traditions, this was how many encounters began. Music wasn't entertainment, it was an invitation, or perhaps a lure. People who followed it sometimes claimed they discovered magnificent halls beneath green hills, glowing cities hidden inside mountains, or feasts unlike anything seen in the human world. Hours seemed to pass. But when they returned home, entire generations had vanished. Their families were long dead. Villages had become ruins. Some stories claimed centuries had passed. Others claimed those who returned never truly belonged in the human world again. Coincidence? Myth? Or something that inspired these legends over countless generations? Long before fantasy novels or animated films, the Fae appeared in some of Europe's oldest oral traditions. The ancient Celtic peoples believed certain hills were sacred places, where another race lived beneath the earth. These weren't caves, they were entrances, doorways between worlds. Many of these grassy mounds still exist today. Some archaeologists identify them as ancient burial sites. Others note that local communities often refused to disturb them, even when roads or buildings were planned nearby, not because of archaeology, because of fear. Even in the 20th century, stories emerged of construction projects being altered to avoid disturbing what locals called fairy forts. Workers reportedly refused to continue. Equipment mysteriously failed. Accidents multiplied. Were these simply coincidences amplified by superstition? Or examples of how deeply these beliefs remained woven into everyday life? Whether one believes in the supernatural or not, the remarkable fact is this: entire communities treated these places with profound respect, not out of ignorance, but out of inherited caution. The answer depends on whom you ask. Some traditions describe them as the descendants of ancient supernatural beings who retreated beneath the earth after losing a great war. Others portray them as nature spirits who predate humanity. Some believe they were fallen angels who chose neither heaven nor hell. Others insisted they were an entirely separate race, living according to laws humans could barely comprehend. Unlike many mythical creatures, the Fae were never easily categorized. They could be compassionate one moment, terrifying the next. They rewarded honesty, yet delighted in trickery. They might heal a traveler, or lead that same traveler hopelessly lost until sunrise. Their morality wasn't human. They operated according to rules that often seemed impossible to understand, and perhaps that uncertainty made them even more frightening. Nearly every legend describes the Fae as extraordinarily beautiful. Their appearance was said to captivate anyone who looked upon them. Their voices soothed fear. Their music stirred emotions beyond explanation. Yet appearances could deceive. Many tales warned that glamour, an enchanting illusion, was among the Fae's greatest powers. A magnificent palace might actually be an empty cave. A feast overflowing with golden food could, once the spell faded, prove to have been nothing more than leaves, moss, or stones. A handsome stranger encountered beneath moonlight might not be human at all. How many of these stories were symbolic lessons about temptation? And how many reflected experiences people genuinely believed had happened? That question remains unanswered. Across countless regions, the same warnings appeared again and again. Never accept food from the Fae. Never promise them your name. Never thank them in the usual way. Never wear clothing turned inside out in their presence. Never enter a fairy ring. Never interrupt their dance. And if you hear beautiful music in an empty forest, walk away. Curiously, these rules emerged independently across different communities, separated by mountains, coastlines, and centuries. No single author created them. No government enforced them. Yet the warnings survived generation after generation. Why? Were they simply stories designed to keep children safe from dangerous places? Or echoes of experiences people struggled to explain? Some locations were believed to be different. The Celts spoke of thin places, not because the land itself was unusual, but because the barrier between worlds seemed weaker there. Ancient stone circles, lonely hills, dense forests, waterfalls, crossroads, mist-covered valleys, especially during dawn, dusk, or certain festivals when the veil between worlds was believed to grow almost transparent. People avoided these places after dark, not because they feared wild animals, because they feared meeting something else, something that wasn't meant to be seen, and perhaps something that didn't want to be forgotten. As the first stars appeared each evening, doors were locked, curtains were drawn, children were called indoors, not because night itself was dangerous, but because the old stories insisted that night belonged to someone else, someone who walked unseen beneath the moonlight, someone who watched from the edge of the trees, someone who, according to generations before us, still waits beyond the veil. Because if the legends are to be believed, meeting a member of the Fae was never an accident. It was the beginning of a story from which few returned unchanged. If the old legends are true, then the Fae were never invisible. They were simply hidden. Ancient storytellers described their realm not as another planet or a distant heaven, but as a world that existed beside our own, separated by only the thinnest of boundaries. Imagine two paintings hanging in exactly the same place. To us, only one can be seen, but under the right conditions. The second painting suddenly appears. That was how many believed the Fae world existed. Not somewhere else, but here. Just beyond human sight, there were moments when the veil became thin. Sunrise, sunset, the winter solstice, the summer solstice, Halloween, or Samhain as the ancient Celts knew it. During these sacred times, many believed the barrier between worlds weakened. For just a little while, the impossible became possible. The Fae were never one united people. According to Celtic tradition, they were divided into two great kingdoms: the Seelie Court and the Unseelie Court. At first glance, it sounds simple: good versus evil. But folklore tells a much stranger story. The Seelie Court was often described as radiant and beautiful. Its members could bless crops, protect homes, reward kindness, offer wisdom, yet they were not saints. If insulted, they could become every bit as dangerous as their darker cousins. The unseelie court inspired even greater fear. Its members wandered at night. They delighted in confusion. Some legends claimed they hunted travelers who ventured too far from the safety of home. Others whispered of strange riders seen crossing lonely hills beneath a blood-red moon. But even these stories resisted simple labels. Neither court behaved according to human ideas of morality. They followed ancient laws, laws that humans rarely understood. Every kingdom has rulers. The Fae were said to be no different. Among the most famous is Queen Mab, a mysterious figure whose name echoes through centuries of poetry and folklore. Some described her as breathtakingly beautiful. Others claimed her beauty concealed a heart as cold as winter. She ruled dreams, illusions, and perhaps the boundary between sleep and waking. Then there was the Fairy King. His identity changed depending on where the story was told. Sometimes he appeared as a wise ruler, sometimes as a hunter leading ghostly riders across the night sky. No matter the version, meeting either ruler was considered extraordinarily dangerous. Mortals who entered their courts often found themselves enchanted beyond reason. Time lost its meaning, promises became unbreakable, and every word spoken carried consequences. If there is one lesson repeated across hundreds of old stories, it is this: the Fae never broke their own rules. Instead, they expected humans to understand them, and when people failed, the price could be severe. Never lie to the Fae, but never reveal too much. Never accept a gift without understanding what is expected in return. Never owe them a favor, because debts must always be repaid. A loaf of bread, a silver coin, a simple kindness, nothing was ever truly free. Many scholars believe these tales reflected the ancient importance of honor, hospitality, and keeping one's word. But believers insisted something far stranger was happening. They claimed the Fae were bound by invisible laws that governed every interaction. Break those laws, and you entered a game whose rules only they understood. Among all the stories surrounding the fair folk, none inspired more fear than the tale of the changeling. Imagine putting your healthy child to bed. The next morning, they seemed different, perhaps quieter, perhaps strangely distant, perhaps they no longer recognized their own family. In medieval Europe, many believed the Fae occasionally stole human children. In their place, they left one of their own. To grieving parents living in an age without modern medicine, these stories offered an explanation for sudden illness, developmental differences, or dramatic changes in behavior that no one could understand. Today, historians see the changeling legend as reflecting the fears and heartbreak of families faced with unexplained conditions. Yet what makes the stories remarkable is how similar they remained across regions separated by hundreds of miles. Always the same warning: watch the cradle. Protect the child. Never leave an infant alone on certain nights. Whether born from fear or something forgotten, the legend endured. Have you ever seen a perfect circle of mushrooms growing in a field? Science explains these as the natural spread of underground fungi. But our ancestors saw something very different. They believed these circles marked places where the Fae had danced beneath the moon. To step inside was to accept an invitation. Some who entered were said to dance for what felt like only minutes. When they finally escaped, years had passed. Others emerged unable to speak of what they had witnessed. Some never returned at all. Even today, many people instinctively avoid disturbing these strange circles. Perhaps because somewhere deep within us, the old stories still whisper. Nearly every culture associated the Fae with music, not ordinary music, music so beautiful it seemed impossible. People claimed it drifted through forests where no musician stood, across empty hills, along lonely rivers after sunset. Those who followed the melody often disappeared. Some returned days later, others decades. Many claimed they could never forget what they had heard. Was this poetic symbolism, or did unusual natural sounds become woven into supernatural tales? No one knows, but one detail appears again and again. Those who resisted the music survived. Those who surrendered to it rarely remained the same. The greatest danger was never violence, it was temptation. The Fae rarely forced anyone to cross into their world. Instead, they invited. A feast. A dance. A song. A single step across an unseen boundary. Again and again, the stories suggest that people entered willingly. Perhaps these legends warned against greed, against pride, against chasing beauty without wisdom, or perhaps they preserved memories of encounters too strange to explain. As night deepened over forests and hills, our ancestors believed another kingdom awakened. One with its own rulers, its own laws, its own ancient purpose. A kingdom that had watched humanity rise, build cities, wage wars, and forget. But the strangest stories were still to come, because people did not merely claim to glimpse the Fae. Some insisted they lived among them, some claimed to bargain with them, and others believed the fair folk never vanished at all. They simply changed the way they revealed themselves. Imagine standing alone on a lonely road. The night is unusually still. Suddenly, a cold wind rushes past. Then you hear it, the sound of hunting horns, dogs barking in the distance, dozens of horses galloping across the sky. Yet when you look up, there is nothing. For more than 1,000 years, people across Europe told remarkably similar stories about a terrifying event known as the Wild Hunt. Some said it was led by a mighty fairy king. Others believed it was commanded by an ancient god. In different regions, the leader changed. But the warning never did. If you saw the hunt, do not watch, do not follow, do not call out. Because those who joined the hunt were said to vanish forever. Farmers claimed they found strange hoof prints in frozen fields where no horse could have traveled. Travelers reported hearing horns on cloudless nights. Children were warned that if they wandered too far after dark, the riders might mistake them for one of their own. Was it fear carried through generations? Or were these stories inspired by something people truly experienced but could never explain? The Fae survived not only through spoken tales. Some encounters were carefully written down. In medieval Ireland, monks copied stories of mysterious women emerging from ancient hills. In Scotland, local records spoke of travelers who claimed to meet beautiful strangers in lonely glens before disappearing without a trace. Welsh traditions described the Tylwyth Teg, the fair family, who danced beneath the moon and were said to bless, trick, or mislead those who crossed their paths. What is remarkable is that they all describe the same kind of beings: beautiful, intelligent, elusive, neither fully human nor entirely supernatural. Separated by distance and language, the storytellers still painted an eerily familiar picture. One of the strangest themes in Fae lore appears again and again: time. Many stories tell of people spending what felt like a single evening in the company of the fair folk. They danced, they laughed, they feasted. Nothing seemed unusual, but when they returned home, everything had changed. Their homes were gone. Friends had long since died. Entire generations had passed. Today, these stories sound almost like science fiction. Modern physics has shown that time can behave differently under extreme conditions, though not in the magical way described by folklore. Still, it's fascinating that long before the first clocks, people imagined places where time itself flowed differently. Perhaps it was simply storytelling, or perhaps it reflected the strange way memory, trauma, and perception can distort our sense of time. Whatever the explanation, the idea has never disappeared. History contains countless accounts of people disappearing without explanation. Most have perfectly ordinary explanations. Some become lost. Some choose to leave. Others fall victim to accidents. A hunter walks into the forest, never returns. A shepherd follows mysterious lights, gone. A child claims to have been playing with beautiful strangers, then cannot explain where several days have gone. These stories became woven into the tapestry of Fae folklore. The fair folk, people believed, sometimes borrowed humans, not always forever. Sometimes they returned them, changed, older, or strangely untouched by time. Whether these tales emerged to explain disappearances or were inspired by events people genuinely found mysterious, they reveal something deeply human: our need to make sense of the unknown. Not every encounter inspired fear. Throughout Ireland and Scotland, there were individuals known as fairy doctors. These men and women claimed they could communicate with the fair folk. People traveled great distances seeking their help, lost livestock, failed crops, strange illnesses, missing family members. The fairy doctors were believed to understand the old customs and the invisible boundaries between worlds. Some offered herbal remedies. Others performed rituals passed down through generations. Skeptics saw wise healers using traditional knowledge. Believers saw intermediaries between humanity and another realm. Either way, their influence lasted for centuries. Long before electricity illuminated the countryside, mysterious lights were often reported in remote places. Small glowing orbs drifting silently through trees, lights hovering above marshes, golden spheres dancing over ancient burial mounds. Science offers several possible explanations: natural gases, bioluminescent organisms, atmospheric effects. Yet in folklore, these lights had another name: fairy lanterns. To to follow them, people believed, was dangerous. The lights might lead travelers hopelessly astray, or toward places from which they would never return. How many unusual natural events became wrapped in supernatural belief? No one can say. But even today, unexplained lights continue to be reported around the world. Perhaps the most fascinating mystery is not whether the Fae exist. It is why similar beings appear almost everywhere. The hidden people of Iceland, the little people of Native American traditions, mountain spirits in Asia, forest beings in Africa, nature guardians in South America. Each culture tells the stories differently, yet certain details remain astonishingly familiar. They dwell apart from humanity. They demand respect. They guard sacred places. They reward humility. They punish arrogance. Could these similarities arise because human beings everywhere tell stories to explain nature and the unknown? Or do they point towards something deeper that our ancestors believed they had encountered? The answer remains one of history's enduring mysteries. As cities grew and forests disappeared, belief in the fair folk slowly faded. Science answered questions that legends once tried to explain. The modern world became brighter, faster, noisier. Yet the old warnings never vanished completely. Even today, in parts of Ireland and Scotland, ancient hawthorn trees are left standing when roads are built. Some lone fairy forts remain untouched in the middle of fields, not because everyone believes, but because enough people still wonder, what if? Perhaps every mystery we've explored on this journey asks the same question. Atlantis, the Great Flood, Egyptian pyramids, the Moai of Easter Island, the Bermuda Triangle, human origins. Each one challenges what we think we know. Each reminds us that history is rarely complete. The Fae belong to that same tradition, not because we can prove they exist, but because the stories refuse to disappear. Generation after generation, people continue to tell them. Parents whisper them to children. Travelers repeat them. Writers preserve them. And somewhere, in forgotten forests, ancient hills, and quiet places where the wind carries melodies no one can explain, the legend waits for the next person willing to listen. Have you ever experienced something in the woods that you still can't explain? Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, some mysteries are older than history itself.
The story ends here, or does it? Thank you for watching Echoes Beyond. If you dare to go deeper, like, subscribe, and return, because some truths refuse to stay buried. The end.